name is Marcin. I'm the creator of NeuraCache app, and in this video I wanted to share with you how I'm learning using Notion and NeuraCache. It's a pretty cool setup. I think you'll really enjoy it. Alright, let's start. So on the left I have a brand new Notion page, and on the right I will show you a couple of types of content that you typically interact with when you're learning something. So let's first start with naming our page. Let's call it NeuraCache Flashcards, or cards actually, and give it a purple heart, of course. So first type of content is an article where I found an interesting concept of work and life balance. So we're gonna create a first flashcard. You can type in this sign and then tap space. This will give you a toggle. This is the fastest way to create a new flashcard. So then we type a question. What is a difference between and we paste the answer. Alright, sometimes you want to interact with a quote. So how I do this, let's say you found an interesting quote here, just copy it, and in Notion you type this sign, then you start typing quote, enter, and you paste the quote. That's it. All right, that's the first type of content. So the second type of content we're going to look at is some sort of online training where you find a piece of content that resonates with you and you would like to be influenced by that content, not only on the day you consume it, but a week from now, a month from now, a year from now. And NeuraCache supports that use case very well. We're gonna use Notion callout. Notion callout is a bit more complex quote block, which allows you to insert multiple blocks inside a single one. So you type in this sign, start typing callout, enter. Then we're going to use Mac screenshot tool, so Command-Shift-4. Then just move it in here. The next type of content we're going to look at is learning to code. So the intention here is just to show you that NeuraCache supports various types of content, including LaTeX, images, quotes. Sometimes I use screenshot tool, but what you can do is, like in this example, just ask a question using toggle, and then just copy the answer, the code, and use the code block. So we can use multiple blocks. So code and then code, and just paste in the code. All right. The next type of content we're going to look at is YouTube videos. YouTube videos very often have some sort of diagrams, drawings of concepts. You can use a toggle, why we have seasons, add some text, explanation, and then use a screenshot tool to do the same thing. So images can also be in flashcards. All right. So far, we've looked at how we are capturing the content that we are learning, the content that resonates with that, the content that we would like to put into our long-term memory. And we didn't even launch NeuraCache. So this is exactly how it will look like. You never interact with NeuraCache when you are capturing the content. But this is the place now where we're going to connect NeuraCache, and you will see how we interact with the cards and insights that we've put in Notion. So I'm going to move away the browser. We no longer need it. And I'm going to bring the NeuraCache app, which you can download from the App Store for iOS and Android. Here we're looking at the iOS version, which is a bit more advanced in features. So how do we connect NeuraCache to Notion, to our Notion workspace, specifically to that page? NeuraCache allows you to add cards directly to the app without any integrations, but it's very powerful when you connect it to a tool like Notion. So this is a button which opens up all the integrations. So we're gonna scroll all the way down to Notion, and we have select databases and select pages. When we tap on them, it says set up Notion token first. So if we tap on Notion token, we see that we need to paste a Notion or enter a Notion token here so that NeuraCache can access our workspace. So how do we get that token? It's very easy. You just go to notion.so my integrations, and then you create an integration. I already have my setup here. When you create an integration, there's a token, and you just copy it and paste it to the NeuraCache app. So to create a new integration, you just need a name. You choose a workspace. You can leave only read content. NeuraCache doesn't need update on insert, and it doesn't mean that NeuraCache will have access to the whole workspace. When you create an integration, NeuraCache cannot access anything. Only the specific pages you tell you connect to NeuraCache NeuraCache can access only those. We don't need any user information, and when you tap submit, a new integration will be created, and you can copy the token and paste it here, right? So this is what I'm going to do now. All right, so I have my Notion token set up. I tap save. Now, the next thing that we need to do is we need to connect this particular page to the integration that we just created. As I said, NeuraCache at this point cannot access anything on Notion because we didn't share with the integration anything yet, right? So we share with the integration by tapping in here, tapping add connections, and then find your integration here. Mine is named NeuraCache, so I confirm. And now at this point, only at this point, NeuraCache can access this page and this page only, and all the children pages that belong to this page. So then if I tap select pages, let us try to find NeuraCache cards page. NeuraCache cards. I have other cards, other pages connected as well, but this is what we are interested in. So I'm going to tap in sync. It means that I want to sync constantly in the background with that page. So whatever I changes make here, I want that to be reflected in the NeuraCache app. And now I tap sync, and it's going to start syncing this specific page, extracting the cards. And you only need to do this once. Afterward, the NeuraCache is constantly connected to that page and syncs every couple of hours for any changes, deletions, updates, new cards. All right, so NeuraCache has 3 tabs. On the high level, the cards tab contains all the cards that you have from all the integrations and your local cards. Decks allows you to review any combination of decks you have. Currently have only one deck, which is just this page. And the most powerful tab, Home tab, which contains today's quiz. So NeuraCache is scheduling your cards using spaced repetition algorithms, and today's quiz is a way to access a subset of those cards that NeuraCache thinks that you should see today, right? So the only thing you actually need to do is just access this today's quiz. There can be via the Home tab, via the iOS widget, or from a notification. NeuraCache will remind you about that. So we can see that we have 5 cards to review for today. So let's review them. All right, there you can see the first card we have here is the YouTube one. Why we have seasons. You can always zoom in to see all the details. At the bottom you have 2 buttons. Green means that you remember the card or you understand it. And the red one means I didn't remember it or want to see it more often. There are a couple of more interfaces to choose from. In the premium version, you have 4 buttons, or you have a slider from 0 to 100%. 2 buttons is the default one. And this button allows you to skip the card. There are some additional actions here as well. I will explain them in different videos. We're going to say, I did remember this well. What is the difference between live? I also remember this one. So say yes. This is the code question. You can again zoom in. All right. We say we remember that. Steve Jobs. Let's say we're gonna say the red one. Take responsibility. Yeah, that's nice. And so we finished today's quiz. We got a streak. We started a streak +1. We have an option to review the red cards. Let us do that. So that's the card that we marked as a red one. Okay, it's a green one now. So we are at 100%, right? And you can see that we have reviewed 5 cards, all of our cards. We are at 100% and there's nothing more to review for today. And maybe that wasn't obvious, but when you're tapping the green button during the review, NeuraCache is scheduling the cards further and further away in the future. So the card can be, just a couple of days away, then a week, a month, then even years at the end when you keep tapping on the green button. When you go to the cards tab, and go to a specific card, you can always see the next review date here. Initially, with the new cards, they are scheduled immediately, then after a day, and then if you keep pressing it, you will see that the next review is in a week, then in 2 weeks, and you keep pushing it with 3 weeks, in a month, right? So you get the idea. So now when you tap on the next tab, you can see our reviews from today. This graph always shows last 7 days. So now let's talk organization, how we can structure our cards into the decks. Currently, the situation is that we have mixed cards in a single deck. So we have nature, programming, self-improvement, some general knowledge, let's say. So we would like to split that in a consistent way, in a structured way, so that we can very easily add new cards when we are learning to a proper place, and then NeuraCache can very easily consume them and categorize them so that we have much easier time managing our cards here in NeuraCache. And by that I mean stopping and starting a spaced repetition algorithm, changing priorities. A typical situation is where you have an exam and you want to review just before an exam or a meeting, actually a business meeting, a specific set of cards. So this is where you just tap several decks, several tags which contain a subset of cards, and then you review it outside of the today's quiz. All right, so let's start organizing. So first, we're gonna use the same page because, as you might have remembered, we have connected that particular page to NeuraCache, and that means that every page I add here will also be shared automatically with NeuraCache app. A very typical setup is where you have a single page and then you nest everything beneath, all the databases, all the decks, so that you have a single structured page which you share with NeuraCache. So let me introduce you to databases. First, we're gonna create a very simple database and start from that. So we're gonna create a database which will be full page, and let's call it learning, or let's say Spanish. First, I'm going to show you the idea how you can use simple databases, and then we're going to move from the databases to more advanced way of organizing the cards that we've already created. But first, let's stick with something simple. So NeuraCache supports databases. This is very useful for learning languages. Let me show you that. We need an additional textual column. So we have now 3 columns, the 2 which are the default ones, name, tags, and we added a textual column. We're just going to move it here. Now you can very quickly learn Spanish words. Let's say butterfly. In Spanish it's la mariposa, and tags Spanish and animals, right? And we can add one more, fox, el zorro. Okay, Spanish. All right, so now on the NeuraCache side, we go again to cards, we go again to sync sources. This time, the last time we used select pages, this time we're gonna select databases, and we're gonna look for our Spanish database. So let's start typing Spanish. I have my own Spanish databases, but this is this one because it doesn't have the flag. Right, so we're gonna sync that. There's an additional option which we're not gonna touch at the moment because we want only to sync a very simple database. I could tap sync here, but instead I'm gonna show you a different way, a quicker way of syncing. If you know you've updated something, I can just pull here to refresh. Right, and NeuraCache in the background is gonna sync everything new, and you can see that we have our Spanish database, and we also have the tags, right? So if I access here, I see my 2 flashcards. And now if I go to the decks, I have animals, Spanish twice. Oh, okay, because one is a tag and the other one is actually a database tag. Okay, so now I can study this with the other NeuraCache cards, right? But let us just review this. So we can see fox, el zorro, butterfly, la mariposa. Good. All right, we got it. Everything is green, so we're good to go. Let me show you now the advanced usage of the databases and how we're gonna organize the cards that we currently have here on this page. And this approach that I will teach you now is actually what I'm using day to day with NeuraCache and Notion. And I think it's really neat, and to be honest, I couldn't find a better way of structuring this. So if you happen to discover something, and even if NeuraCache doesn't support it and you think that would be beneficial, please let me know. All right, we start by creating a database. We could inline a database, that's okay, NeuraCache can still find it. I'm gonna go again with the full page, and we're gonna name the database learning in general, right? Because we're gonna try to organize our knowledge here. Each row will contain a different article, a different YouTube video, podcast, or whatever. So it's a single place where I will be placing everything I'm learning. Of course, I could have several databases on each topic. It only depends how you want to structure it. NeuraCache supports that use case. All right, so let's first start by tapping Command-Shift-N. This will give us a duplicate Notion view. So now in here, let's go back to NeuraCache cards so we can see our database. Let's try to organize this. So the first 2 cards come from an article from Paul Graham. So this is exactly how I want my first deck, because I know he has a lot of essays. So I know I will be putting all the highlights, flashcards in a single deck. So I'm gonna name it Paul Graham. In Notion, every row in a database is actually a page. If I open this here, we get a page. So now what we want to do is we want to move those 2 cards into this page, right? So we do it by tapping here, move to, and Paul Graham. And we're gonna do the same for this one, move to Paul Graham, right? So we have our cards here. I'm not sure why it didn't delete it here. So I'm just gonna go ahead and delete this card. The second card is from visualize value, so it's the same, visualize value, right? I'm going to tag the previous one with articles, and this one I'm going to tag with marketing. Okay, so we additionally get a general tags, so we're going to move this one to visualize value. Then we have iOS, Swift. So we're gonna move this one, move to iOS. All right, and the next deck we want to create is, let's call it nature. Say it's from YouTube videos, right? But you get the idea how you can organize. So we're gonna move that to nature. Yeah, all right. So as you can see, we have a single page where we have our Spanish database with Spanish words, and we have a general learning. Let's now move this window away, and we are back to NeuraCache. So what we now want to do is disconnect NeuraCache cards page, because NeuraCache cards no longer contains any cards. So we're going to disable the sync. And what we want to do is select the database and select the learning database. We already have our Spanish database synced. So now we want to add the second one. So we're going to tap sync, and this is where we're going to use the second setting, because in Spanish, this is a simple database. So NeuraCache extracts cards based on the name and text, right? And in case of learning, we actually want to tell NeuraCache that, look, this is a database, but each row is a page, and it contains the cards, right? So this is what it says, rows as pages, right? So we're gonna enable that. and we're gonna close and then tap sync. So NeuraCache now is going to extract all 4 pages, as you can see. All right, so let's now have a look how our cards are organized. So each row from the learning database, now it has its own deck. So if I go to Paul Graham, I can see only the 2 cards, right? So now let's say you want to study only Paul Graham stuff. So I'm going to tap Paul Graham, tap review, and I'm only reviewing the 2 cards, right? The cards are now very neatly organized into separate decks. Additionally, you can use tags to bind cards from several databases. So if I have a separate database, like let's say our Spanish database, and if I tag them with animals, what will happen, the animals tag will contain not only the Spanish words, but let us try to sync now. Let's see if the animals tag will now also contain the why we have seasons, right? So everything connected to animals, and you can go in here and study by animals tag, which contains 3 cards at this point. So let's say you wanted to add a new card. You just go to Notion, you either create a new deck or you open a deck which you think your card should belong to, and you just create a new card. What is a max speed on a cat? Don't ask me how I know this. You add your card, we go to nature, we just pull the sync. And the sync happens automatically. You don't need to pull down to refresh. Like again, every 6 hours. So we have what is the max speed of a cat is 30 miles per hour. Maybe that wasn't obvious, but in each of those pages you can create any notes you like about the topic. NeuraCache doesn't care about that. NeuraCache only recognizes specific blocks like toggle, callout, quotes, and omits the rest, right? So now that we understand how to capture what we are learning using Notion, I wanted to show you 2 main use cases which you will use NeuraCache for. The first use case is you have a specific subset of cards that you want to review, like before an exam or before a meeting. This is where you go to the text tab and you choose the cards that you want to review, and you just simply review them. The second use case is today's quiz. So this is where eventually all the cards show up unless you stop them. One way of accessing today's quiz, of course, tapping this button, but I wanted to show you 2 other ways which actually you're going to use much more often. So the first one is through a notification. NeuraCache will send you a notification if there are cards to review, like this one. So if I tap on it, I'm going to be taken to today's quiz. And the other one, which I actually use the most, is through a widget. So if you add a new widget, look for NeuraCache and add a widget. There's only 1 widget at the moment. It shows you that I have currently 6 cards to review, and if I tap on it, it takes me directly to my today's quiz. All right, that's it for today's video. Thank you very much for sticking to the end. And I hope you can see how easy it is to capture things using Notion and how easy it is to review them than using NeuraCache app. There's of course much more to the NeuraCache app, so please check out other videos where I explain all the features of NeuraCache and other integrations. Also, if you have any feedback, comments, or ideas how to design and develop the integration, especially with Notion further, do let me know. I always read all the comments. So again, thank you very much and have a great day.